what are the pros and cons of living in Hamilton you need to know about before moving here. And the very first pro you need to know about is the different neighborhoods Hamilton has to offer you, as Hamilton can really be broken down into 8 different distinct neighborhoods, which are Central Hamilton, the Hamilton Mountain, Stoney Creek, Ancaster, Dundas, Waterdown, Flamborough, and Glanbrook, which all make up the city of Hamilton. So I thought in this video here, we would dive in deep into the different pros and cons of each one of these communities here, so you know which neighborhoods are best for you and your family. If you're new here, my name's Matthew. I'm a local realtor, a part of the Living in Hamilton team, where we help buyers all the time relocate here and buy a home. So if that's you as well, send me and my team a message today. Other than that, make sure you keep on watching this video to the end, as I'm going to be sharing with you the #1 tip I always recommend all my clients do if you're thinking about moving to Hamilton. Other than that, let's dive on in now into the first location, which is Central Hamilton. All right, and if we take a look at where Central Hamilton is found within Hamilton, this is going to be the main area of Hamilton. So it's anything that is below the Hamilton Mountain, kind of along the Red Hill Valley is an easy way to divide it up. Goes along the Hamilton Harbor here, and then along Coots Paradise. It kind of tucks up here before wrapping around. So it includes McMaster over there and tucks in here. Now, this is the central part of Hamilton. Now, of course, this can be broken down further as you have like the western part of Hamilton over here that has McMaster and a lot of different great communities. You have the eastern part over in this area here. The downtown area of Hamilton is right here. And then you kind of have like the rest of Central Hamilton in this area here. Now, one of the areas that I often get asked with clients that are moving to here and have some sort of knowledge of Hamilton is they know that Hamilton is a massive steel manufacturer. It's one of the things it's known for. It's its nickname as well, is the Steel City. So the area you are going to be finding that is here on the north side of the Hamilton area. And it's one of the cons about living in this area here. Now, the good news is if you're living in like the west area side or close to the Niagara Escarpment, you're not going to notice it about. But anything in this kind of bubble right here is where you're going to notice a lot of industrial manufacturing still going on. And then one of the major pros about living in this community of Hamilton here is it's definitely the liveliest part of Hamilton, with a bunch of different activities to go and do, whether it's a major festival happening every weekend, whether it's a performer coming to play at one of the concert halls here, whether it's a sports team that has their weekly scheduled game here, or maybe playing for the Grey Cup. Everything that is really happening within Hamilton and that's buzz with the city will be happening within this community here. As if we took a look at the map, one of the areas that you're going to find the greatest restaurants and shops to go and explore is really along downtown area of James Street right here. This James Street is full of many different great restaurants and shops to choose from. And then of course you have Jackson Square, which is also home to the year open Hamilton Farmers Market, and right beside the First Ontario Center that is currently going under a massive renovation there as well. Then another 2 areas you're going to notice a lot of great options for food is going to be along Locke Street right here. It's going to be a little bit smaller than James Street's options, but still a great option to choose from, as you got Donut Monster. You also have Earth to Table Bread Bar and Maddie's Hot Chicken right there. And then out to the east side along Ottawa Street North, you are going to notice some great options also to choose from Hamburg, as well as the Parlor and the Boardwalk cheese steaks. But also within this community here, you are going to have the most amount of different breweries to go and enjoy, as you have the Collective Arts Brewery, you have Merit Brewery, you have Fairweather Brewery, just to name a few. And then also within this community here, not only do you have a bunch of adult nightlife, but you also have a bunch of fun activities for the kids to do, as you can find a variety of areas to go karting, or also go check out the water slides, the wave pool, and the lazy river at the Wild Waterworks out in Confederation Park. And then another pro about living in this part of Hamilton definitely happens to be the walkability and the public transportation you have access to, as no matter where you're living really throughout Central Hamilton, you're gonna have pretty good walkability, at least able to get your basic amenities to a grocery store, a pharmacy, probably an LCBO or a beer store, as well as a Dollarama. And then when you're within Hamilton, you're also going to notice a lot of great public transit options, both to get around the city, as the central part, especially the downtown area, is going to have the most amount of busing options to choose from, but also you have the Go bus stops and Go train stops also in here in Hamilton, with the Hamilton Go, the West Harbour Go that has regular buses and trains taking you to the surrounding cities, and Union Station out in Toronto. But then also within the Hamilton community, one of the cons about living here is the different traffic, the roadways, and the one-way roads that you have access to, as because this is one of the most heavily trafficked area and it's one of the older parts of Hamilton, the road conditions here maybe aren't the best, especially near like the industrial areas, because you do have those heavy vehicles and just the heavy road traffic running over it. So oftentimes here I find, especially in the wintertime when they're plowing, there definitely can be some large potholes that you got to watch out for, so you're not on the side of the road changing a tire. I've done that once or twice and I'd hate for that to be you as well. But then also here, the downtown part of Hamilton definitely has the most notorious rap for one-way streets. Now thankfully we all have a GPS in our phone now, so it makes it easy to get around, but the two main roadways here being Main Street and King Street, which is really going to take you east to west throughout the central part of Hamilton, is really going to where you're going to find a lot of one-way roads. Now there is some projects that are possibly going to turn them into two ways. However, for now, they're both one-way roads. And then also some of the residential streets of Hamilton will also be one way. So you'll always have to keep your head on a swivel, making sure you're turning on the right street, going the right way. Then the next pro about living in this part of Hamilton is the affordability it has to offer you, as this is the most affordable community within Hamilton. And that's because of a few reasons. One, you're going to find the greatest density of condo options to choose from here. But then two, the detached homes are typically either going to be the older, smaller bungalows, or it's going to be triplexes or duplexes of these older red brick homes that have been turned out to be investors. So if you are also looking to possibly house hack, live in one portion and rent out the other portion, this is a great community for you to consider as well. Then while this is the most affordable place to buy real estate in Hamilton, one of the cons is the gentrification going on. And this is both a pro and a con, if I'm being honest. As one, you're getting a lot of great investment coming into the city, building in new businesses, new residents that are bringing all new life. However, at the same time to that, especially in the major cities of Canada, we are noticing a rising city of homeless population, and that's just because of the rising cost of living. So you are going to notice that more in this area here, as well as some areas of the Hamilton area, especially around like the north part, have more boarded up shops because the businesses couldn't keep going during COVID or the recent years. Now, thankfully, a lot of great new shops that I know of are coming into the downtown area of Hamilton. So you can absolutely be rest assured what the downtown area of Hamilton looked like 5-10 years ago is completely different than it looks like today. And that's because of the great investment that is happening within the central part of Hamilton. Now, the next area of Hamilton you might want to consider, and you need to know the pros and cons, would be the Hamilton Mountain. All right, and where the Hamilton Mountain is located is right south of the central part of Hamilton, and therefore gives easy access if you wanted to access downtown Hamilton. But here you are going to be sitting on top of the Niagara Escarpment. It's about, what, 200 feet wall that kind of separates the central part of Hamilton and the Hamilton Mountain. Now, this area here was really started to be developed in the 50s and 60s, which is about 50 years after the original downtown Hamilton area was developed. So you are going to notice a bit more of a suburban lifestyle here, with bigger box chain retail stores, a bit more car dependent, but also some great neighborhoods for families to choose from that have great parks, great schools, etc. As if we zoom in and we look at how the Hamilton Mountain breaks down, you really have 4 or 5 distinct areas how you want to break it down. So you have like the north part of the Hamilton Mountain. Here is where you're going to find some of the original homes that were once of Hamilton's Mountain. A lot of bungalows, a lot of 1.5 story homes with decent sized lots, usually with a detached garage in the backyard. Then you have the western side of the Hamilton Mountain. Here is where you're going to find some of the most desirable neighborhoods to purchase on the Hamilton Mountain because of like the Mountain View neighborhood right in this area here. On the Fraser Institute has one of the best performing elementary schools, and as a result, I always get questions about it. So that's where it's located right here. But also just throughout, you're going to find a variety of different neighborhoods that were really built in the 80s and 90s. The next area would be like the eastern side of the Hamilton Mountain over here. Another great area for families, especially if you're looking for a little bit more on the affordability side, as the typically in Hamilton, just as a rule of thumb, the more east you go, typically the more affordable it is, and then usually the more north you go, the older the homes are, and then the south you go, the newer the homes are. So that's East Hamilton there. Then you kind of have like the central mountain area right here, which kind of takes on a little bit characteristics of each of the neighborhoods it's bordering. And then you have the most recent development on the Hamilton Mountain, the South Hamilton Mountain right here. Now, one of the pros definitely has to be, when living on the Hamilton Mountain, the amazing parks, and more specifically, the amazing waterfalls you have access to at your doorstep, as Hamilton is the waterfall capital of the world. And when you're living on the Hamilton Mountain or near the Niagara Escarpment in general, you're going to have access to absolutely stunning waterfalls. As out to the east, you can find Buttermilk Falls and Albion Falls, and then out to the west, you can find Chedoke Falls and Tiffany Falls, all with different hiking trails for you to explore with a variety of different difficulty levels. But also here in the Hamilton Mountain area, you're also going to notice a variety of parks along the escarpment's edge, whether that's the Mohawk Sports Park, the Sam Lawrence Park, or the Mountain Brow Park, that offer spectacular views of just downtown Hamilton and the Hamilton Harbor. And then perhaps my favorite thing about right on the Hamilton Mountain is all the escarpment trails and stairs access, as I live about a 2-minute walk away right now, probably more like a 1-minute walk away from the Niagara Escarpment Rail Trail, which runs right along the Hamilton Mountain. So here is a great spot. You can go biking, you can go walking, you can go running, you can go rollerblading a little in some paved sections. But here as well, as you have great access to these stairs that run up and down the Niagara Escarpment, which are perfect for an absolutely great stair workout. But then one of the cons of living in this community here is you are going to be a bit more car dependent, as when this area was primarily developed was really 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, and as a result, they've really built the communities to be reliant on a car. So you need to make sure you at least have one car for your family. Then one of the pros about living in this community here happens to be the great shopping options you have access to, as not only can you find Lime Ridge Mall here, which is, my opinion, the best mall in Hamilton, the mall I at least go to for when I need to get some shopping done, as you have a variety of stores within it, as well as a lot of options just around Lime Ridge Mall as well. And then the other area on the Hamilton Mountain, you'll find a lot of great shopping, especially those local boutiques, is along Concession Street. Right here is where you're going to find some of my personal favorite restaurants to go to. You got Speedy Subs for an amazing, classic assorted sub, but as well as the Parlor, the Dirty South, Bring Me Some, and many more great restaurants to choose from. And then out to the east and the west, you also have good options, as just quickly mentioned, right beside the Hamilton Park, on the west side of the Hamilton Mountain, you have the Costco, you have a Best Buy, a PetSmart, a variety of stores. And then out to the east side, a similar trend with a lot of great restaurants, a lot of great shopping options right where the Red Hill Valley and the Lincoln Alexander meet. Then one of the negatives about living within this community here, and a lot of my clients that are going to be living here, it really applies to them as well, is there's not much employment opportunities available within the Hamilton Mountain. Now, that's not to say there aren't any, as there's still a lot of shops and retail stores and office buildings that are within the Hamilton Mountain, but compared to the central area of Hamilton, or just the GTA in general, being Mississauga or Toronto, I find a lot of my clients that are living in the Hamilton Mountain at least either work from home and commute once or twice a week, or are going to be commuting on a regular basis out to Toronto, out to Burlington, out to Oakville, wherever they are, where the home quarters is for their business. Now, with that said, if you are working from home, this is a great option to choose from, as you can often get a slightly larger home that does accommodate a home office. Then another negative about living on the Hamilton Mountain is, compared to central Hamilton, there's not much going on. There's not much nightlife. You find a few restaurants to choose from, but that's about it. If you are looking for the nightlife, the good part is you are just a short Uber or a short walk away from all of downtown Hamilton. Then one last final pro I'll mention about the Hamilton Mountain is the affordable real estate you're going to find within this community here, as here is going to be the second most affordable place to buy a detached home, a townhome, and condo options available to choose from. Now, if you are interested in learning more about the different real estate opportunities on the Hamilton Mountain or the Central Hamilton, send me and my team a message today. We'd be happy to review what matches your search criteria. Other than that, the next community you might want to consider when living in Hamilton would be Stoney Creek. Now, if we look at where Stoney Creek is located in Hamilton, it's on the easternmost side of Hamilton, kind of runs along the Red Hill Valley, cuts along here, cuts like this, and then goes this. Now, Stoney Creek can be really broken down into a few major distinct areas. You kind of have Stoney Creek on the mountain. So similar to Hamilton on the mountain, Stoney Creek on the mountain is divided up by the Niagara Escarpment. Then you have like the central part of Stoney Creek, or the main area of Stoney Creek, where a lot of the original development of Stoney Creek was originally done when it was its own town. Then out to the easternmost side, you have Winona, a budding new community that offers a lot of great detached homes and townhome options to choose from, close by a Costco and a lot of great shopping options. And then in North Stoney Creek, right here is where you're going to find a lot of waterfront condos and townhomes to choose from. Now, one of the pros about living in the Stoney Creek community is the great location it has to offer you. Because it is located on the easternmost side of Hamilton, it not only gives you the best access to the US border as well as the Niagara Falls region, but also because most of Stoney Creek is located right on the QEW, it gives you easy access also if you are thinking about commuting to work from one of the surrounding towns or planning on visiting Toronto on a regular basis. Now, one of the disadvantages of living on the Stoney Creek area is because you're more on the eastern side, unless you're living really in the central part of Stoney Creek, the public transportations and the walkability isn't going to be the best, as you are going to have a lot more big box chain retail stores that you need to drive to compared to small shopping centers that you can walk to on a regular basis. Now, with that said, if you are going to be not having a car, you can easily find a variety of neighborhoods and just select a home that is close by many different shopping centers to choose from. Now, another thing you need to know about when you're thinking about living in Stoney Creek is where you decide to live in Stoney Creek matters depending on the location and depending on the car dependability and the traffic you're going to be running into on a daily basis. As if you look back here on the map, if you're living in the Stoney Creek on the mountain section, oftentimes here you're going to notice a bottleneck on the Red Hill Valley when you're driving home, or an Upper Centennial if you're coming from Toronto. And then same with if you're living in the Winona area, you are going to notice some bottlenecking on the QEW, and that's both the same. You will see some bottlenecking regardless of where you're living in Stoney Creek along the Hamilton Skyway in the QEW bridge. Now, one of the advantages of living in Stoney Creek happens to be the variety of real estate options to choose from. Because Stoney Creek is one of the larger communities within Hamilton, it offers a variety of real estate to choose from, as you can find some of those original side splits, back splits, as well as two-story homes that were really built in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. But then on the Hamilton Mountain, you can find some brand new detached homes and townhomes, as well as with some detached homes and townhomes that were more established in the 90s and have some great neighborhoods to choose from. And then out in Winona, you can find some of those brand new townhomes and detached homes, but also here you'll find some more homes that were some original ones that sit on large size lots for you to choose from. Now, one of the disadvantages about the real estate in Stoney Creek, but not just Stoney Creek, Hamilton in general, happens to be the property taxes. So you're going to find this not just in Stoney Creek, like I mentioned, but throughout Hamilton. Hamilton does have some of the higher property taxes when you compare it to the surrounding cities of the GTA. Now, with that said, you can definitely get a better bang for your buck here. So what $1 million costs in Hamilton, while you will have slightly higher property taxes, typically here, that $1 million will go farther here when you compare it to Burlington, for example. As currently, at the time of recording this, the property tax in Hamilton sits at about 1.3%. Then the next community you might want to consider if you're thinking about moving to Hamilton is Ancaster. Now, Ancaster is located on the western side, so the opposite side of Hamilton to Stoney Creek, and it's really located on the Hamilton Mountain, the Niagara Escarpment, right here. So here you're going to find some of the nicest real estate throughout Hamilton, some of the most expensive homes as well, but you're going to find a great community to choose from. Now, when you're living throughout here, you're mainly going to have easy access to the 403. This is going to allow you to take you out to Burlington, Oakville, Toronto, but you also have it going out to London. And in this community here, you are going to notice a few different things. One, you're going to notice a lot of well-established communities that have a lot of different great detached home options to choose from. And it's about split 50-50. Sometimes they're the original homes that may be a little bit smaller but sit on large lots, or two, they're a custom infill project that has been recently put up in the last 10 years, some even in the last year. And here you're going to notice, because of this variety, each home has its own unique look and feel. Now, one of the major pros I know my clients absolutely love about living in the Ancaster community is the top schools it provides for both elementary schools and high schools. As according to the Fraser Institute ratings, here is where you're going to find one of the highest collections of top rated schools throughout Hamilton. Now, you will find some throughout other neighborhoods. However, oftentimes here, when my clients are talking about top schools, this is one of the areas they're specifically always mentioning. Then another great thing about living in Ancaster is you're also just a short drive away from McMaster University. And then another pro about living in Ancaster is it definitely gives you that small town feel and that charm that it has to offer you, especially when you're jaunting throughout the Ancaster village. As here, you're going to find a few different local restaurants and boutiques to choose from, as well as my favorite bakery in Ancaster, Canchiche's French bakery, that you need to go check out. But then also, one of the cons that comes along with that small town feel is there's also that small town feel in the sense of there's not much to do in Ancaster. And I often find my clients here, either they're homebodies or they often are finding themselves traveling to the other parts of Hamilton to get stuff done. Now, with that said, there's still some great fun activities you can do within Ancaster. As one of my favorite things to do is go golfing. And here you're going to find some great golf courses within Ancaster, or just a short drive away from Ancaster to choose from, as well as my favorite driving range in all of Hamilton being the Eagle Classic golfing range, that you have an amazing chipping putting area, but you also have a great driving range that is also covered up and has heaters for those colder months. Then one con about living in this community here is kind of like Stoney Creek, because it's more on the outskirts of Hamilton, it is definitely going to be slightly more car dependent. Now, unless you're living around one of the major shopping centers of Ancaster, I'll show you in just a second, you really are going to be relying on a car when living within Ancaster, as there's not much public transit that really services this area here other than one or two bus lines. Now, if we look at where you can expect the shopping, which is definitely one of the next pros of living in Ancaster, is there's two major shopping areas you're going to explore. So the first area is the western part. We kind of mentioned it on the Hamilton Mountain, but it's this area right here. It's the Ancaster Meadowlands, and here you're going to find a lot of different shopping options to choose from, as not only does it have a Costco, a Home Depot, a Best Buy, a PetSmart, but as well as a Winners, a Cineplex, and Indigo, an amazing dog park as well for you to choose from. But then if we zoom out here and go to the east side of Hamilton's area, or Ancaster more specifically, is where you're going to find the Smart Center. So here you have a Walmart, a Longo's, as well as a Canadian Tire, a Rona, as well as many different other great restaurants to choose from, as well as the Albatross Indoor Golfing Center. Now, one of the major drawbacks about living in Ancaster, or why my clients choose not to move here, is due to the expensive real estate it has to offer you, as this is going to be one of the most expensive areas to buy real estate in with all of Hamilton, as it's right now the second most expensive area, but the number one area really has large land. So this is really the most expensive area if you're looking for that typical suburban neighborhood within the Hamilton city. Now, with that said, it's all relative, as if you are thinking also about moving to Burlington, the average sale price in Ancaster is going to be very similar to the average sale price in Burlington. Now, if you are thinking about relocating to Hamilton, the number one recommendation I would have for you is to download my free Hamilton Home Buyer Starter Kit. Here, not only do you get access to all the information and exclusive videos I've created about each one of the communities we're talking about within Hamilton, but also here you can dive in deeper and learn everything of what you can expect from the home buying process within Hamilton specifically. So you can find a link down in the description to get access to your copy today. Other than that, the next area you might want to consider moving to Hamilton would be be Waterdown. Now, where Waterdown is located is kind of separated from the rest of Hamilton. So here's Hamilton, and Waterdown is kind of tucked into this area right here. More tucked into Burlington, I would say, than the rest of Hamilton. And what you're going to be noticing in Waterdown is really three distinct areas that make up Waterdown. You have the eastern side of Waterdown, the central side of Waterdown, and the western side of Waterdown that kind of get broken down like this here. If we just draw these here. This is the west, this is the central or the downtown area, and then this is the eastern side. Now, where we are seeing a lot of development currently within Waterdown is really on this eastern side of Waterdown, just south of Dundas, and then on the west side, kind of just north of Parkside Road, is where you're going to find the newest real estate options to choose from within Waterdown. Other than that, if we zoom in, you can see that the downtown area of Waterdown, it's personally a great area to go for a walk, enjoy some great donuts at the Copper Kettle Cafe. However, one of the downsides, and this is going to be the first con about living in Waterdown, is the traffic and congestion and just time spent trapped along Dundas right here, especially as it passes through the downtown area of Waterdown, as here they're the heritage buildings, and therefore there's only one lane going each way with a turning lane in the middle, and as a result, especially during those rush hour times, you definitely will notice that bottleneck there. Now, with that said, thankfully, the city of Hamilton has now started building in some roadways to relieve this traffic bottleneck. However, until those are done, this will remain a con. Then another disadvantage of living in Waterdown is the lack of public transportation. As if you're looking to just get around Waterdown, you have one bus loop that kind of wraps Waterdown. Other than that, because you are so separated from the rest of Hamilton, the public transportation isn't the best. Now, with that said, if you are commuting and you have a car and you're living in Waterdown, you really have two access points. You are going to notice some bottlenecks when you leave. The first will be on along Highway 6, and truly the way I would recommend if you're going to be commuting to Toronto on a regular basis is to live near the West End, so you are avoiding that downtown bottleneck right here. Jump on the Highway 6 and immediately can hop on the 403. But if you are living on the East End, where you can avoid some of the bottleneck is if you scooch down Waterdown Road right here, and this can take you all the way to the 403. And this is also where you're going to notice Aldershot Go is right here on the Waterdown Road access point. That gives you a GO train that takes you out to Toronto. Now, one of the advantages or pros about living in Waterdown is that downtown area that I mentioned, as you have some of my favorite local cafes. As you first have the Copper Kettle Cafe, has amazing apple fritters, but then also here you can find amazing local restaurants from American Fifth House to Shaboosh Bistro, but also then on the west side you'll find some great shopping options to choose from. So the majority of shopping plazas you're going to notice within the Waterdown region is really going to be located right here on the west side. Here is where you're going to find that Walmart, the Rona, as well as Canadian Tire, Sports Check, and Mark's Work Warehouse. Now, one of the great parts about living in Waterdown is you're going to find a great mixture of both those established communities kind of along the central corridor of Waterdown, as well as a lot of new real estate options to choose from both detached homes, condos, and townhomes. Now, one of the disadvantages when it comes to living in Waterdown definitely happens to be the real estate prices, as it's definitely in the upper middle end of the real estate prices you're going to be finding throughout Hamilton. Now, with that said, because Waterdown is more tucked into Burlington, if we compare Waterdown's prices to Burlington's average sale price, you can see that Waterdown is a bit of a bargain compared to Burlington, and that's why it makes it one of the great communities I find my clients who are thinking about moving to Burlington but want something maybe a little bit newer or a little bit more affordable end up choosing to settle in Waterdown. And then the next community you need to take a look at if you're thinking about moving to Hamilton is Dundas. So Dundas is located kind of in between Waterdown and Ancaster, but this time here it is really tucked into the Niagara Escarpment, and as a result you are going to get some absolutely picturesque views when you're living here, or just amazing green spaces close by your door. Now, kind of similar to the downtown area of Waterdown, you're going to have the downtown area of Dundas, and in my opinion, the nicest downtown area, not the nicest, I shouldn't say the nicest, but definitely my favorite and the most picturesque to get, get those Insta-worthy pictures, but also the most amount of shopping options to choose from. other than when you're considering downtown Hamilton. As if we look in here, you got Detour Cafe, you have the Thirsty Cactus, two amazing spots to go do, but also you have the Sean and Ed Brewing Company, and here is also going to give you just great walkability as you have lots of public transportation options to choose from right along King Street Road. Now, one of the best pros about living in Dundas happens to be the amazing parks and waterfalls that Dundas has to offer you, because it literally sits in the Dundas Valley, or is surrounded by the Niagara Escarpment. In other words, it's just surrounded by nature. So you have Spencer's Gorge, which has Dundas Peak, Toos Falls, and Webster Falls to go and explore. But then you also can find the Dundas Valley Conservation Area, one of the most biodiverse areas with 9,000 acres for you to go and explore, with many different hiking trails and a lot of local history you can find there, from ruins to little local history huts as well. Now, one of the disadvantages about Dundas, especially if you're thinking about moving here and buying a home, is the limited real estate opportunities available in Dundas, as Dundas is going to be one of these smaller communities you're going to be finding throughout Hamilton. To give you a size comparison, it's about 1/3, 1/4 the size of Ancaster. So as a result, when homes pop up on Dundas, there's a lot of people that want to move here because of the picturesque lifestyle it offers you, and therefore you need to be quick when looking in this community here. Now, one of the other pros about living in Dundas definitely happens to be the schools. In another community, my clients, they're talking about moving and want one of some of the best schools according to the Fraser Institute rankings, mention Dundas, because here you will not only be just a short drive away from McMaster University, but you also have many different elementary schools and high schools rating within the Dundas community. Now, one of the downsides of living in Dundas is while it does give you access to amazing boutique shopping within the downtown area, you do have some general shops you can find within the plazas. Oftentimes here, because it is a smaller area, you aren't going to find the same amenities that you would be finding in Waterdown, in Ancaster, on the mountain, or central Hamilton. And as a result, oftentimes here, you're going to be traveling to one of the surrounding communities to get some of your errands done on a regular basis. Then the next community you might want to consider if you enjoy more of that rural lifestyle is Flamborough. Now, where Flamborough is located is really anything that is kind of northwest of Dundas. It kind of includes Waterdown. It goes up like this, kind of wraps all along like this here. It cuts in here. Now, what you're going to be finding within Flamborough is a variety of smaller communities or pockets of homes to choose from. So the largest of that to choose from would happen to be Carlisle. Is a great community to choose from. Some of the most expensive real estate you're going to be finding within Hamilton, because these homes here are sitting on absolutely huge size lots with 100, 200 feet frontage to choose from. So offers you some great privacy, but also here you'll find some great options in Freelton. You have Rockton out here, which is a very small little community to enjoy. You have Millgrove just a short drive away from Waterdown. Linden over here is another one. And then right on the edge of the Hamilton Escarpment, right along Dundas, is where you'll find Greensville, sitting on top of the Niagara Escarpment, and offers some great spectacular views and all the great amenities that Dundas has to offer you. Now, one of the cons about living in this community here, I mentioned already about Carlisle, but this is the #1 most expensive spot to buy real estate within all of Hamilton, and that's usually associated with, because of the lot size of these homes here are massive, you are going to have a premium price tag associated with that. However, with that said, depending on where you're living, you can actually find some affordable detached homes if they are on slightly average or smaller size lots as well. Now, one of the pros I know a lot of my clients love about this community here is that small town feel, or more specifically that college feel that this communities have to offer you. As because all of them are at least a 5, 10, 15 minute drive out into the rural farm fields, it's absolutely going to give you that cottage feel, and then you're just a short drive away from many different city amenities. Now, with that said, within the communities here, one of the cons is the lack of amenities, as you might find a very small public library, you might find a school, you may not find a school depending on which community you're looking at, and as a result, oftentimes here, you're going to be finding a lot of time in the car commuting to get everything done that you need to get done. Now, one of the pros about living in this community here has to be the great parks and opportunities it has to offer you to enjoy the nature. As first, you have Valens Lake Conservation Area, my favorite park to go have a staycation, go camping for a quick weekend and then drive 20 minutes back home, and you can kind of start your work week without having any interruptions. But then also here you will find many golf options to choose from the Dragonfire Golf Club, from Carlisle's Golf Club, and as well as 2 great 9-hole courses being Pinelands as well as Rock Chapel. Then the next community you might want to consider if you enjoy more of that rural living but are looking for maybe a community that is slightly larger than these areas here in Flamborough. The next area you need to check out is Glanbrook. And Glanbrook is really located on the southern side of Hamilton, right along the Hamilton Mountain is where you're going to access it. So really it kind of makes up this area here. However, with that said, the majority of Glanbrook real estate is going to be in 2 communities, either Mount Hope or Binbrook right here. Now we're seeing the fastest growing community within Hamilton being Binbrook right here. A lot of new detached homes, townhomes are coming in. A lot was built in the early 2000s. However, with that said, you're also seeing a lot of communities also coming in around the Mount Hope and the Hamilton International Airport here. Now, one of the advantages about living in these communities is, one, you're going to find a lot more newer real estate opportunities to choose from. And not only newer real estate opportunities, these are going to be some of the more affordable newer real estate opportunities you are going to find throughout Hamilton. With that said, one of the disadvantages, like Flamborough's communities, is the lack of amenities you're going to be finding within them. As oftentimes here, you're going to be taking a trip often to the Hamilton Mountain to get your basic errands done. Now, with that said, Mount Hope, you're about a 5-minute drive away. There's nothing there for you to really shop other than a general store. So you are going to be making that trip quite often. Where in Binbrook, you're a little farther away, about a 10-minute drive to the Hamilton Mountain. However, with that said, you do have a general shopping plaza in the middle of Binbrook that has a FreshCo, has an LCBO, has a Shoppers Drug Mart, so you can get your basic amenities done within the Binbrook community here. Now, one of the pros about living within this area here is also the great parks, as you'll find the Binbrook Conservation Area, which is also just your typical conservation area with a twist, as you can find a fun splash pad on the water, which is like an absolutely inflatable jungle gym, but you can also go wakeboarding or also go ziplining throughout this community here. And then right beside Mount Hope, you can find the Cameron Speedway, where you can either go go-karting or also paintballing. And I spent many birthday parties growing up as a kid at the Cameron Speedway. Now, one of the other major cons about living in these communities here is the lack of public transit. Because you're more in those rural fields, you aren't going to have any public transit opportunities to choose from. In Binbrook, there's 0 busing options. In Mount Hope, you have 1 stop that stops you at the kind of the very beginning of the community, so you can't rely on that. With that said, what you do have that is very unique in this community here is you will find the Hamilton International Airport that has many different flights taking you throughout Hamilton, or taking you throughout Canada, excuse me, not Hamilton, but throughout Canada, as well as down south in the Caribbean or the United States. Now, if you are thinking about making the move to Glanbrook, to Flamborough, to Dundas, Ancaster, Waterdown, send me and my team a message today to book your free relocation consult call, where we can review everything and more. However, if you are interested in learning more about the different pros and cons of the essential Hamilton and want to learn more of that in detail, that's the next video I recommend you go check out. So you can find that video right here. Otherwise, I hope you have a great day.